All right, great people. Happy Saturday. Hopefully, everybody can hear me nice and clear. Um, Shout out to you guys for being on here this morning. This call is being recorded, so will be played back for later. Super excited to be here this morning with you guys. Will not keep you guys for a long period of time, but got some things I want to go through. Shout out to everybody that's tapped in. And we are recording, so let me go ahead and make sure that my screen starts to share. So just really some Saturday reflection, right? So let's go to, a couple things to look at. We didn't have the employment we were expecting to have, but we didn't have the unemployment rate numbers actually come out. So you're going through this government shutdown right now. Let's talk about navigation of this government shutdown. So by a show of hands, how many people actually work for the government and have been affected by the government shutdown? How many people have been affected by the government shutdown? Or I'm sure even if you haven't been, maybe your friend or your family member maybe has been affected by the government shutdown. Now, I want to talk about markets as always, but I also want to talk about economics today. So I want to do a deep dive into speaking about economics and also the Federal Reserve funds rate. So there was something that I was speaking about yesterday on a little bit on live. I didn't speak too much. I'm kind of giving you guys a prelude into a bit of tomorrow. I know everyone's excited for tomorrow's class that'll take place on Sunday evening. So we're getting ready for that. Man, I'm gonna drop big time game on that class. You want to be in the building. So I want to be make sure that you guys know that I'm gonna give you guys everything I got. I'm working on finalizing a couple of things for tomorrow's class just to make sure I'm extra ready for it. So we'll be good to go. So let me see something real quick. And we got the Federal Reserve interest rate decision that's going to be coming up towards the back half of this month. So you got the Federal Reserve interest rate decision, a ton of good stuff happening earnings wise. The banks report earnings. We have QQQ and Apple. I'm going to start off there talking about both of those. So that's what we have for right now. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And boom, everybody should see. Perfect. So, what I'll start off by saying is when it does come to the Federal Reserve interest rate decision, the Federal Reserve interest rate decision is one that, to me, is going to really be determined by what these employment numbers and also what the inflation numbers look like, right? So, I need you guys to know that the Fed, the too late Fed, I want you guys to put that in the chat. I want you guys to put that in your notes. I want you to put that too late Fed. Now, this is something that I've been discussing for the past couple of sessions. I've been hitting at the Fed. Now, DT, when he came out and said the too late Fed, I'm like, yo, why is this not pulling up? It's early in the morning. 1 second, y'all. This is absolutely ridiculous. I have no issues and problems. Uh, let's see. I don't know what is going on. 1 second. Yeah. Like, why I didn't pull up that? 1 second here. Go to Google. I'm trying to get to my site that I need and like even Google on these other tabs. Like 1 second. Yeah, this is not loading. Needed to reload, refresh. So too late Fed, correct. So you got the too late Fed. And what I was trying to pull up was the interest rate history. I have actually a few sites that I actually look at where you can actually go back and track. That's what I was trying to pull up. But nonetheless, it looks like we can use the Federal Reserve site. At least that looks like it's working. Um, Actually, no. I'll probably have to go ahead and restart these tabs. So give me a second as I close out Safari real quick. I'm gonna quit Safari. And there we go. So now let's try it. Sometimes that could just work. Let's try it. It should work. There it is. So let me get these tabs pulled up, guys, real quick again. So as I do that, let's talk about the Federal Reserve interest rate decision, right? Federal Reserve interest rate history. And I asked you to put the too late Fed because now the Fed is too late. All right. So the Fed is too late And let me explain to you why. So if you guys remember in the past that DT kept talking about, oh my gosh, I need the Fed. The Fed is too late. The Fed is too late. If you remember, he kept saying that over and over again. The Fed is going to be too late. The Fed is going to be too late. So what exactly was he meaning by the Fed is too late? So it came down to a couple of things here. And this is a site on Forbes, right? So the Federal Reserve is designed to create monetary policy, right? They focus on that, which is directly tied into employment and stable pricing, right? So I need everyone to know that, right? Employment and stable pricing. So now the reason why the Fed is too late is because we have now seen that the employment markets are slipping, right? So when you guys take a look at the employment markets, now we're slipping here to the downside. And what I ask people to write down is put 5%, right? Because you're going to see 5% unemployment. That's what's going to end up happening. And since 2023, unemployment has been on the rise. So there's been a lot of people that lose their job and not get a new one. That is the main thing. Think about just listening to conversations when you guys pay attention, right? Or if they've gotten a newer job, it may have been for less money, right? And so there's been ultimately a lot of job cutting, right? We see 2,000 jobs cut here, 10,000 jobs cut here. Pay attention to the past 12 months, right? And this is where I'm going to, here we go. Boom. Let's just type in simply and say, okay, we can go on AI mode. Perfect. You can use ChatGPT, whatever you want, right? How many jobs lost by Black and brown people over past 2 years? Exactly. So I wanted to show you something. Here's what they're going to tell you. Pinpoint. I'm glad that the AI was honest, right? Pinpointing the exact number of jobs lost by Black and Hispanic people over the past 2 years is not possible, as data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. You see, the BLS is full of BS, right? So, no pun intended there. The BLS is full of a lot of BS because people don't even trust the job numbers. Like I was telling somebody yesterday, if the job numbers are good, just know they stretched it to the upside. If the job numbers are bad, just know they trimmed it to the downside. And that's realistically what it looks like. So these job numbers are fugazi, as I would say, fugazi, right? And unemployment trends for Black workers after reaching historic annual low employment rate in 2024, Black workers have seen a rising unemployment. Rising unemployment in August 2025, the Black unemployment rate reached 7.5%, its highest since October 2021, right? And the increase began in early 2025, with rates climbing from 6% to 6.8% in in June, and then 7.2% in July. Impact on Black women have particularly affected between February and April 2025. Approximately 300,000 to 350,000 Black women left the workforce or lost their job. Early warning sign. Economists often refer to Black unemployment as a canary in the coal mine, signaling a broader economic slowdown. Once again, not my words, the economist's words, right? Unemployment for Hispanic workers as well. So you had that information here. The unemployment rate for Hispanic or Latino workers in August 2025 was notably 5.3%, a notable jump from earlier periods of low employment. Sector-specific job losses, Hispanic workers who are heavily represented in industries like manufacturing, resource extraction, were affected by recent job losses in those sectors. For example, in August 2025, 12,000 manufacturing jobs and 6,000 jobs in the mining and extracting industries were lost. Context for these changes: federal job cuts, right? As we know, we can imagine a lot of the Black women that did lose, that we just discussed, a lot of that lied here in the federal job cuts as well. Economic policies, change in tariff policies as well have affected small businesses, which are significant employers for many Black women. Corporate retreats on DEI, right? So a pullback of diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives is cited as factor for job losses among Black women. Now, let's go ahead and ask, well, what about solely Black men? Now, when you take a look at some of this data, what I want to see is, okay, employment to population ratio decline. I think this is super, super duper important because you got to look at it from that perspective. The share of employed Black adults between the ages of 25, my age, right, to 54 has declined in 2025 after peaking in 2024. Until this year, the rate had been rising since 2021. Now, the broader economic bellwether, economists and policymakers often refer to rising Black unemployment as the canary in the coal mine, suggesting that rising jobless is a warning sign of the broader economic slowdown. So when you put all this together, what has been the one thing that, Black people have been talked about for a while being, and that's consumers. So when you think about it, we've talked and, Black people consume so much, but we ain't investing, blah, blah, blah. All of those, little narratives around, once again, not my words. Those are the narratives that have been run, right? And there's some truth to it, right? When we take a look at us and how much we consume, we're big spenders. It's just the facts, right? So there's a narrative that's ran, but it's also that the narrative sometimes can be true, right? Where we spend and we don't invest, right? And that's been our philosophy now outside of 401ks and different things. That's been the philosophy that's been pushed and the narrative that's been pushed. Is it all the way true? No. But when we start dialing back and taking a look at, the cost of survival, as I would say, right? What's the cost of just the everyday to survive, right? So when us as Black and brown people, when we don't even sometimes have enough money to really make ends meet, we can't even think about investing. Not unless we have a surplus, right? Not unless we have an overflow, if we want to take it to biblical, right? An overflow, right? If we don't have any overflow, what the hell can you invest in the first place, right? That's the main thing. Now, we've been fooled to think that sometimes we don't have any overflow, but then we have to sit back and realize what stuff are we actually buying? What stuff are we actually putting our money into to the point to where we don't have anything extra when it comes down to budgeting and things like that. But you could do all the budgeting and honestly, in this economy, just not be making enough. You could budget and do all of that stuff. You could have 2 degrees and be told as a Black person, yo, we're not hiring you. There was something I seen yesterday where there was a young Black woman. She was on LinkedIn. She's trying to get these different jobs. She created a different profile where she dressed herself up as a different ethnicity. And she automatically, with the same resume, she automatically started getting boom, boom, boom. So still here in 2025, going into 2026, we live in a world where there's still job inequality, right? For the average Black and brown person, right? You're not going to get the same looks. You're not going to get the same offers when it comes to jobs. You're not going to get the same salary offers. These are just the facts, so there's still a racial discrimination in the United States when it comes to paying Black and brown people and specifically Black women what they deserve. Because historically, we could talk it, Black women have always been undercut and lowballed continuously. You get what I'm saying? So these are just the facts. The numbers back it up, and we can see that here. Now, why would I stress this so much? Well, holiday season is right around the corner. So if holiday season is right around the corner, and we start to not just see for Black and brown people, but also just across the board, right? Everyone, right? Where unemployment is ticking up. If holiday season is around the corner, what can I really expect? Because now let's take a look at credit card companies, right? Let's talk about this. Credit card delinquencies and oops, and past 2 to 3 months. Assuming past 2 years. I want to get that data. Right. So let's take a look at it right here. So when we talk about key delinquency data from the last 2 years, I'll just go to the recent numbers, right? So for the first time in several years, some reports show a deceleration in the rate of growth of delinquency. Signs of stabilization, like the 30-day delinquency rate, serious delinquencies tracked by Equifax have shown signs of stabilizing or slightly decreasing in 2025, although they do remain elevated. Now, the Federal Reserve's sustained policy of high interest rates have significantly increased the cost of carrying balances. So, how could the Federal Reserve help, right? Just think about this. Because what is credit card debt? Credit cards are fixed or variable. Credit cards, most or pretty much credit cards are variable, right? So they're not a fixed rate. They go up and down. What's going on, Rel? They go up and down. Yeah, we're here early. We talking that talk. It's 6:51. Listen, I said I was gonna be on here for a small second, but listen, we're gonna run this thing as long as I feel like talking. And the reason why is I want to break down exactly what are the things that I look at. You see a 6 something in the morning, and I'm up here. Listen, you can't play games with this. You want to get better at this. You want to push yourself to the top. You want to become the best that you can be. You got to sacrifice. There's going to be some people that's in your ear saying, why are you up so early? Why are you doing that? While they asses is still asleep on Saturday to 10, 11 a.m. because they didn't want to get their ass up and get this work. You're getting this work right now. So shout out to all my people that's here in the building. There's a ton of people on here that say, hey, I'm going to the gym. And I love to see that. Shout out to Kaven, right? I seen you post that in the chat, and it was another individual that posted. I can't remember right now. I missed it, but it was a queen. And I want to say that at the end of the day, this is what it's about. You got to show up. You want to get somewhere in life. This is what it takes. It shows up, and you guys showing up. This is the difference, because a lot of people is just talking about things. You're actually showing up and putting in the work. So the times that you're spending right now will pay off. It might not pay off tomorrow, may not pay off next week, but it's going to pay off over time. Everyone's going to have their time when their payoff comes. Like we talking about credit cards and we'll talk about auto loans and all of that stuff. There's a payoff date there, and you can early pay it off. So right now, you accelerating your growth being here is going to lead to an early payoff. Yes, I said it. So you're going to early pay off. You're going to have an early payoff because you shown up and you sowing your seeds, and your seeds are going to grow. So yeah, maybe at first it was going to take you maybe 2 to 5 years, but now you just paid it off in a year. So that needs to be the mindset that everyone approaches and attacks this thing with, is understanding that if you want to get somewhere, this is what it takes. It takes an absorbent amount of effort to make sure that you put yourself in position to win in not just today, not just tomorrow, but in the long run. What I'm always preaching is long run. Listen, I'm gonna be here a long, God, God's blessed me. I plan to be here a long time to just be able to deliver this value information at a high level. So I want to be here every step of the way. Let's break down this interest though. So JP and Company, this is why I say JP and Company, they're in trouble, right? Because what they're trying to essentially do, and what Trump wanted to do, was he already knew that rates were too high for his foolishness. So let me explain this and break this down. DT, right? Donald Trump. Now, we talked about him. I said this numerous of times. I said DT is right. If you guys remember, I said he's right about the Fed being too late, right? But I want to explain as to what I was meaning just even more. Too late Fed, Donald Trump, right? So we seen all the theatrics with him and JP and all of that. So, I mean, we just look, this is why I said this will tell you, right? All the time, the too late, too late, too late, too late Fed. Trump slams Jerome Powell after Fed holds rate, because essentially he was slamming him because he knew that his foolishness, that's why DT did the 90-day pause. He knew that his tariffs were dumb. And let me explain to you as to why. You already know that you're laying people off, you're slashing this, you're cutting that. You're relying the United States. This is where we got to take a look at the numbers. Let's go ahead here. We're going to talk about GDP. And let's explain this. And so people understand where I'm going with this. GDP makes up what? There we go. So let's take a look at GDP. GDP now is going to be made up of about 70% of consumer spending. So we go right here. GDP. So super, super, super duper important that you guys understand this. GDP makeup in the United States, in USA. There we go. 70% personal consumption expenditures, PCE. So think about that. When the PCE report, what week does it come out? The last week of the month. 70% personal consumption. It includes spending on durable goods, cars, furniture, non-durable goods, which is food and clothing, services, healthcare, and utility. So this is what's made up, right? 70% of the US GDP. So, bro, if you are hurting your consumer, because everyone knows that tariffs, we get paid and factor in on the consumer. That's just what it is. So tariffs get passed through to the consumer. So the consumer has to start paying more. If you're having people laid off where people have less money, now people can afford less. That means people spend less. When people spend less, and we come here to Yahoo Finance, and we take a look at these tickers, and we'll just use an example like, right, some of the consumer-based tickers, let's use Costco, right? We'll just use Costco, a consumer-based ticker. So if Costco, we come here to the statistics tab, and Costco had a 10% quarterly earnings growth year over year this year, but then let's say next year, they're down 5 to 10%. We come to the analysis tab to see that, right? What are the estimates? This is the biggest risk to the market. The biggest risk to the market is that corporate earnings start to fall because people start consuming less. What happens when this bubble gets popped? Because we're in a debt bubble, right? We are in a debt bubble. So now more people get laid off. What's the theme for 2026? And this is not a prediction, it is a spoiler. The theme is more people get sent home. I keep warning people. I'm telling you, Amazon's going to lay people off. Amazon will be laying people off. UPS will lay more people off. FedEx will lay more people off. Walmart will lay more people off. Just pay attention. These companies will lay more people off. These are just a Chevron just finished laying people off. You will see an increased amount of layoffs. This is not a prediction. We do spoilers. Now you can get ahead of these spoilers, right? So what I'm saying is that this is why. So when people ask, okay, what will happen to the stock market? If corporate earnings tank, what you think happens? Now people sit back and address and say, man, this company, the companies that rely on consumers, the consumer-based companies will get smoked in 2026. They will get smoked on real bad. Consumer-reliant companies, well, I just broke down to you, right? That when we are taking a look here, majority of the time when it comes to GDP, 70% of it is made up of consuming. So what happens if consuming slows down? Now, this is where the Fed ties in so perfectly, right? So when DT was coming and saying, well, I would like for the Fed to cut, just don't understand why, Jerome Powell doesn't have the guts to do what is needed to be done. Ultimately, Jerome Powell, only time he cuts is when there's an election. And what he was saying is, I'm going to do these tariffs because this is a negotiation tactic. And yes, there's some bad deals in some of these other countries when it comes, for sure. But now all this bring factories back to America stuff is fine up until your people. So it's a recipe for disaster. And let me explain as to why. You're bringing these jobs back, right? Because you're trying to negotiate and get people to leave those countries and you're slapping tariffs. But then you're also saying, you put together things. Apple's going to invest 600 billion. You can literally see when Mark Zuckerberg is in that White House where he was at, wherever he was at with DT, you could literally see the apprehension in his voice when he was saying whatever investment that Meta was going to make, right? Over the next, he literally grabbed these CEOs by their coattails and said, if you don't do this, your stuff, your dirty laundry is going to come out. It's just what it is. This is exactly what he's doing. So, DT, not a fan of DT, but I'm not biased to the point where, once again, I'm going to say, if he's right, he's right. But if he's wrong, he's wrong. You get what I'm saying? And he's wrong on this. And this is going to come back to haunt him because the too late Fed narrative, right? So now Jerome Powell didn't do his bidding early. So now, if you notice, there's a rush to try to get rates to go lower. Because what did I say to you? Credit card, right? When it comes to credit card debt, it is variable interest. So variable interest is fluctuating by the Federal Reserve funds rate. This is why DT said, I want rates to go down immediately. Remember, he was screaming it. He was like, I want rates to go down immediately. His new boy, Bessinet, however say his last name, right? If I said it correctly, apologize if I didn't. But he comes out and says the too late Fed, all this stuff. They wanted to fire JP. They wanted to fire him. And the funny thing is that JP can't just control rates by himself. That's not a one-man room. That's a 12 disciple type room where 12 people sit at the table and they come in and they make the decision. So you got 12 people that's making the Federal Reserve, made up in the Federal Reserve board, and they're voting on those things. So JP, you wanted him to sway the votes. You wanted him to whisper in a Raphael Bostic and say, hey, we need to cut rates early, cut rates. But what was the Fed saying? This is why I said I pay attention to who's watching the Fed, because when you go to the federalreserve.gov website, you have the opportunity underneath Federal Reserve calendar to be able to go back and listen to the previous FOMC conferences. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 meetings so far. Now, the meeting minutes will come out this upcoming Wednesday on October 8th. We will get the meeting minutes at 2 p.m. So the meeting minutes for the previous conferences can be found here. And so the common theme was, we're waiting on the data. We're waiting on the data. Now, DT's motion was the data is lagging, bro. And DT is right. Like I said, DT right. You operating off of lagging. But listen, DT, you're the same one that's causing this ruckus. So yes, you could take and say that DT is right in saying that, yes, it's too late. And the Fed does operate off of lagging data. Now, also as well, DT tried to influence directly interest rates when the Federal Reserve is supposed to be an independent agency. Bro, you need to mind your business. Did we run this over here? You focus on what you need to get done over there. Go meet with who you need to go meet with. Go do what you need to do. Let us handle this. But if you notice, DT's been sticking his nose in other people's business, as he always does, right? And that's the problem. Now, I want to give somebody credit, and that's Elon Musk. Elon Musk was able to get briefly for a second over $500 billion dollars in value as far as what his net worth is. Elon Musk got the hell away from DT. Some people may view it the other way, that Donald Trump got the hell away from Elon Musk. Nonetheless, let's take a look at what Tesla's done since Elon has went to the sidelines. And yes, he still runs his mouth, but we don't expect much different. But that separation was super important because those two didn't need to be together. You see, DT did exactly what I told you guys he would do. He would discard of Elon Musk. He made Elon feel good. Elon will give you this office, we'll do this, we'll tell people to buy Teslas, this and that. But when it came down to the tax credits, and what did DT? He showed himself to be what he's always been. DT. He's going to use you to get to where he needs to get to. But once he's done with you, he's going to dispose of you. That's exactly who DT has always been. In business, I remember my first encounter with DT. Quick story real quick. It was my first time ever knowing, as a kid, knowing who Donald Trump was when he showed up on my television and I was watching WWE. Now, this was back in the earlier 2000s, in the 2010 decade. I want to say it was 2006, 2008, somewhere around there. I remember DT popping up on my television screen, and he was actually attempting to buy WWE. And I could kind of even see in that skit. Obviously, that's a lot of made up things, but it showed DT. I'm sure he wasn't acting, but he showed himself to be. He tried to use Vince McMahon to a certain point to get what he wanted. He wanted to actually buy WWE, and which is now TKO Holdings. They combined with Endeavor and they formed TKO. So now WWE and Endeavor, which Endeavor owned UFC, now forms TKO. So he wanted to actually purchase that. So I remember as a kid even seeing DT, and I just like looked at DT and just this guy will do anything to get to where he needs to get to. He doesn't matter who he steps on, he doesn't matter who he uses. And Elon Musk thought that it would be a mutually beneficial relationship with him and DT, and it ended up not being that in the beginning, right? And in the beginning, it maybe was. In the end, it ended up not being that. So in the beginning, it was beneficial. In the end, it didn't. His stock was tanking. The sentiment was low, and DT started to trash him. So Elon, since he separated from DT, his stock is up over $100, and his net worth. I mean, just take a look at the numbers. If Elon can continue to work and turn Tesla into a profit-making machine and push this thing to the upside, I mean, also you take a look since he separated, we just got the delivery numbers. And I'm gonna say this. When you look at delivery numbers, Elon Musk, the numbers smashed by 60,000 units. So there was a lot of people when he was back in DT that said, I'm not getting no damn Tesla. But you separate from DT, the third quarter on the delivery numbers smashed by 60,000. What did that tell you? That told you that people kept their money on the side and said, let me see what happens here with DT. And now you see a $60,000 boost. So shout out to Elon Musk for getting the hell away from DT. Once again, some people will view it as DT got away from Elon. But really, Elon said, I'm richer than you, bro. You might have more power than me, but I'm richer than you, my guy. So I'm going to get away. And just think about who has the better trajectory, Elon Musk or DT. If you had to be a betting person, you would bet on Elon Musk. He has more motion, more really, you could say that DT has more power now, and that's true. But when DT time is up, Elon Musk will have more power than him. So Elon Musk hit the background, said, yo, I'm about to just get to work. And if we can see, I always tell you this, the dangerous Elon Musk is the focused one. The one that's not running and smacking his gums, the one that's not, why were you trailing behind DT like you were the B plus player, bro? You're the superstar. DT was just milking you like a cow. You're the superstar, bro. You're the real life Tony Stark. When you put your mind to things, that's who Elon Musk is. He's the real life Tony Stark. And so what he can do, the best decision that he made is you are really, really going to understand now he got away from him. And DT's destructive. And I'm going to say this right now. Donald Trump is destroying the U.S. economy. These are facts, not fiction. DT is destroying the United States economy. And let me explain to you more as to why. When we talk about GDP making up 70%, and the stock market can be an illusion, and you're talking to a stock market guy, right? Don't fall in love with these doggone tickers. Because if you're looking at the SPY and you're looking at these ETFs and you're looking at all of this stuff, right? You could be saying, what is Lawrence talking about? He's destroying the US economy. He is. And I'm giving a little bit of prelude into things, but understand that the stock market and economy is different. So where do people go and hide? They go and hide in assets because you need yield. If inflation is high, you need yield. Your job to generate cash flow. The stock market can't stay down. Why? Because people need somewhere to keep their money at to make sure that it's still growing. That's the reason why the stock market can't stay down. If you notice, every time it blips, it pops right back up, pops right back up, pop right back up. Even during the bad data points. You want to know why? Because people are so thirsty for these interest rate cuts. That's what's happening. People are thirsty for these rate cuts. Someone asked me, will Tesla's numbers carry over? It's going to be interesting to see, but think about this, right? Tesla's numbers can actually increase if rates drop. So when we talk about auto loans, we talk about credit cards, that's what DT is trying to do to get people to spend more, lowering the cost of interest. But what the Federal Reserve is saying is, yo, the cost of capital, you want us to keep lowering this cost of capital right now, but we have to wait on the data. That's where the too late narrative comes in. DT's like, damn it, Jerome Powell, just cut the damn rates. Because he's like, yo, we ain't got time to wait on the data. I've lifted this 90-day pause on a lot of this stuff, and these tariffs are about to take effect. So guess what? You got new iPhones coming out, right? Well, new iPhones came out, right? You got all, holiday season coming, different products, etc. The cost, people want us, DT wants the economy to spend. That's what it comes down to. When the economy's booming, that's when people are spending, because consumer-based spending, this is what it is made of, 70%. So people got to spend for this economy to boom. But if people got jobs and people don't have disposable income, let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about the relation jobs to, let's go through wage growth to disposable income ratio and importance. There we go. Right? So wage growth to disposable income. Now I want to explain to this. This is why they said there's no standard wage growth to disposable income metric, as disposable income includes all sources of income, not just wages. Instead, economists focus on how changes in wage growth affect disposable income and use this to gauge economic health. The relationship between wage growth and disposable income. Wages are the largest component. So think about this. When they run in all this stuff, and saying wage growth was up, I think it was 4.4%. I don't have all the numbers, but I've read these numbers this week, and I'm always reading this. It's BS. Let me tell you why. Because how somebody gonna have a wage growth? And this is why I say the data. We could say people maybe for those that still have, but what about the people that don't have a job right now? My guys, there is no wage growth. Their wage growth was actually minus 100% because they were laid off. Are we taking that into consideration? This is why the damn data is skewed, because faster wage growth, correct, boosts buying power. When wage growth outpaces inflation, as it has for much of the US since February 2024, real wages increase. But that inflation number is capped. Let me explain to you why it's capped. Because we're going to do this simple thing. Right? I want to say we're going to just use a simple number. We're going to say $5,000. This is going to be, once again, $5,000 what somebody is making, right? So let me explain this. Now, this is where we talk about budgeting and expenditures. When you look at the $5,000 number, right? And let me go to the whiteboard real quick here to explain this. And everyone to get where I'm about to go with this. Because the cost of living is not increasing by 2% a year, dummies. Like, I don't know why these guys put this damn data out thinking that they're cooking with fish oil, because it is not a 2% or a 3% increase year over year. So let's use the $5,000 example in this. $5,000 is what someone's making a month. Obviously, if we times that by 12, you're going to get $60,000 a year. And that's pre-tax dollars, by the way. So this is pre-tax dollars. So we didn't even account for taxes, right? So this is pre-tax dollars, pre-tax, right? So now let's take a look here. When we add up all of these costs, right? So whether it's and it also depends on your setup and your situation. We say this is a 2-person household, right? And so now you have this as a 2-person household. And actually, you know what? I want to do this as a 1-person household. Now, this is someone, single person with 1 kid. Or we can have 2 kids. So this is a single individual, 1 or 2 kids. Then we could also do another example, and we could say, all right, this is going to be a 2-person household where we'll time the income. We'll just say they're making the same amount. We'll times the income, and we'll say they have as well 1 or 2 kids. Right? So this is where the mathematics comes in. Right? So this is going to resonate with a lot of people. And what's happening is that there's a major discrepancy, right? So 1 or 2 kids, right? So 2 person with 1 or 2 kids. So this is $60,000 pre-tax. Over here is going to give you 120K pre-tax dollars, right? So the cost of capital, right? When we start to factor in, so this is the setup in a situation. But this is like a lot of times, this is what people are faced with on an everyday basis. This is just the reality of what people get faced with on an every single day basis. You add up the bills and you say, okay, well, for most cities, we'll say for whether it's an apartment or it's whether a home that you're buying could be anywhere in between $2,000 to $3,000. To where now, even with the average, making the average, like, and we're not talking about living luxury. We're just talking about living somewhere safe. Some people say, well, there's something, and it depends on where you're at in the country, right? There's going to be you over there in Calabasas, California, you up there in New York City, you down there, excuse me, in Miami, you over here in DC, Prince George's County, you over here in the Midwest may be a little cheaper, right? Just a reality. You up there in Chicago, a little higher. So depending on where you at, we'll say average, right? It's somewhere in between for a good, comfortable living space. We don't want you living somewhere less than $1,000. We ain't trying to have you, in the hood. We just not trying to have you there. So we just saying this is just the average, right? We want you living somewhere fair, good, especially you talking about you got 1 or 2 kids. You want to make sure they at least go into a decent school system, etc., whatever. That's what I believe everyone deserves, right? But this is the piece in this country where things get messed up. This could be your rent or this could be your mortgage, right? $2,000 to $3,000, right? It would be pretty much your rent or your mortgage. Now, when it comes down to this, you also have your phone bill. We just talk about necessities. Phone bill. We didn't even factor gas, electric. Shoot, you got to be able to heat your water. All of that, gas, electric. Then you also talk about car. You may need a car or no car. There still is a transportation fee. You get what I'm saying? Because some people may not have a car if they're living in the inner city, right? So a transportation fee that, honestly, if you're Ubering, you're catching bus, whatever, what I'm saying? Now it comes down to your car, insurance, all of that stuff. By the time I get through here, you're already going to be at $4,000. Realistically, you're already going to be at $4,000. Now, you could get a beater. That's what we call it, a beater. So you could get a paid off car. You could buy your car cash or you could have no note. That's the goal, right? But that may not be everybody's situation. You may need a car note, right? So we factor that in. So you're already in there. Then you talk about food, right? Necessities, food. I mean, we talking about anything that could be anywhere from $300 to $500. If we're talking about a month, that may be lowballing it. One parent, 1, 2 kids, even over here with the 2 person, right? $300 to $500 to me is not really even enough, right? Not really enough. The reason why is because the cost, you go in, you spend $100, you just got cleaning supplies. You know what I mean? Or you just got a couple bit of nothing. So $300 to $500, that may be bi-weekly, right? If we're being honest, that's like a bi-weekly cost, right? So you're spending anywhere from $600 to $1,000 a month on food, right? And your groceries, etc. That's a bi-weekly cost, right? We'll just say that. So bi-weekly, $600 to $1,000 a month on food and groceries, right? So that's a bi-weekly type thing. Some people may shop weekly, some people bi-weekly, just depends on who you are. So we already are pretty much, and remember that number was pre-taxed. So we didn't even get to the fact. So this your money's gone. At 5,000, your money is gone already. So that $5,000 was pre-tax. So, you're looking at probably your take home is probably anywhere in between like 3,500 to 3,800 if that's pre-tax, right? Pre-tax dollars, 5,000, depending on how you have your taxes set up. So we'll say 3,500 to 4,000, just depending on you. So your money is gone already. You get what I'm saying? Someone said that doesn't even include childcare if your kids are small. Exactly. That didn't even include clothes, tuition. So your bread's gone. Your bread is gone. So you're thinking about this. I think for me, it just comes down to the main thing is like, that's not even enough for a quality. Once again, I didn't put nobody in the hood. I didn't put nobody where they wasn't going to feel comfortable. And I did take the average $2,000 to $3,000 rent or mortgage in most places that have you. You're not living large, but you're living good. You're not uncomfortable. You're in a good spot. Your phone bill, your gas, your car, or no car, there's still going to be a transportation fee, your car note, if you do have one, food, and that was all I could do. So just the bare necessities is just making it, right? Obviously, if you have a two-person household, this is where having two people does have some benefit. You got two people, two incomes. You know what I'm saying? It's not just one person. So I did that illustration to show how the hell does DT think that when we talk about this 2% increase, this is what I want to get to, right? This 2% increase in inflation is 2%. Or if we can get it there, and what you guys just saw is, right, wage growth. If it's at 4.4%, so they'll sell this and say, yo, we're keeping things at a 2 to 3% inflation level, but wage growth is this. Well, what about all the people that got laid off? What about the 300,000 to 350,000 Black women that got laid off earlier this year, bro? That's still looking for a job. What about the other people that just got laid off last month that's still looking for a job, they next role? Bro, they don't have wage growth. They don't have it. And even the people that do, is it really 4.5? Because even if it's 4.5, we'll take that number. We'll say you guys are being honest. But I can point out that most people's costs are probably increasing anywhere from 10 to 15% a year. Because you want to know what? There's certain things that we talk about that you can't go without. You might be going to that restaurant that you always have been going to since 2010, 2015. Guess what? They've increased their costs 2 to 3%, sometimes even 5% year over year. There's maybe activities and things that you're doing. You go to your barber shop. Your barber was once, fellas, listen to me here, and ladies, I'm gonna get to you next. Your barber was once $30, but now your barber's damn $50 for a cut. Ladies, you were going in to go to see your favorite hairstylist. Your hairstylist, she cost you maybe about $160. Now she's costing you $220. So there's certain things, and once again, it's not to say that those people are wrong for that. Shout out to, we got plethora of barbers. They deserve to be paid more. They actually have to increase their cost of what they're charging in order to meet their inflation. So now the prices went up, prices went up, prices went up because they have to meet their costs to what's increasing. Their rent went up, their phone bill went up, their gas and electric is, teeter-totting. They needed to get a new car, and they had to get a new car when rates were higher. Think about how many people had to get a new car over the past 3 years. Understandable. But you had to pay a higher APR to get that because rates were high. Jerome Powell had to raise rates to kind of slow down the rate of inflation, which he's done a decent job at. So what I'm giving you guys is a macroeconomic picture. And I said, as I was going through stuff this morning, I've been up since about like 5:30. And this is the type of things that conversation I want us to have, because a lot of times people are saying, well, how can I invest? How can I invest? It's not even just do more. It's not even just work more. It's also being more strategic. And it's also this is why having your money in the markets, leveraging your capital the right way to make more money. Shout out to all the people that have been here nonstop, because if you can make an extra 20,000 in a year trading, if you can make an extra 40,000 a year trading, extra 60,000, extra 80, this is what makes the difference. This is about just numbers and results. This is why I go so hard, because I understand, one, how as someone that's helping take care of family, providing, doing this, mom need this, boom, everybody needs that. I got no choice but to go hard. So I get and I understand everyone's situation, right? Because you got to continue to produce, continue to print, continue to pull money. And this is why I say us as Black people, sometimes we playing the wrong damn game. I don't give a damn about Cardi B and Nicki Minaj beef. I don't care about how many months in jail Diddy got. I don't care. What I do care about is how can we put our community in a better situation to make money. We playing the wrong game a lot of times. We talking about guys who already got their contracts and guaranteed millions. And I respect those brothers putting their bodies on the line. Shout out to Malik Neighbors. Hope he gets better soon. But listen, guys, we can't have these damn conversations about other people who got their guarantees and their contracts, and we ain't even got guarantees working for the government. And we see that here as day. Our contracts can be null and void tomorrow if we don't put in the work now. This is serious. It's real life on the battlefield. So I don't want it's always the narrative being pushed. Black people this, black people that. Let's change that damn narrative. We do invest. We do spend our money wisely. We do unite. We do trade. Like, I want it to be so normal. Oh, a black person trading. That's like the most disrespectful thing. Oh, when I hear people, you're a trader. And I go these different places. And I remember directly being in Seattle. I'm sitting at the Yard House and I heard somebody say that. Oh, he's a trader, because I was dressed in a suit. He'd probably never seen a black trader before. And I could hear in his voice, he's talking, and I can hear him behind. No, this is regular. This is regular. I actually got a whole community of black traders, though. You want to meet them? Because this is regular. When people say I know, people's like, yo, you 25, you doing all of this. Listen, I want that to be regular. Don't dislike. I get it. Because if I was 25 and I was Caucasian, they'd be like, oh, your dad probably just put you on. Oh, who's your dad? Who he worked for? But because I'm black and I'm a trader, it's like, yo, you doing this. Like, I don't look at those I look at those as like sometimes backhand compliments. Because listen, like, it should be regular for a young black man to be a trader and be articulate and speak about the markets. But it's not right now, maybe to some people, but I'm going to change that narrative right there. And that's kind of the mindset that I want people to understand is like, yo, we are at the table. We got to just change our mindsets on how we move. And it is important. It is really, really important that we get this and understand that it's going to be steps to this process. But we got to stay, I won't even say stay down. I don't like that. We got to stay locked in to our mission and our journey to get to where we want to get to. So what it takes is doing more. What it takes is leveraging each other the right way, not kicking each other down, not talking about each other. Because truth be told, we all probably got some skeletons and we all probably got some things we done went through that then brought us here to where we're at right now, right? And so myself included is like, yo, we got people that's relying on us. Because if you here right now, I can almost guarantee there's people in your family that probably rely on you to give them money. There's people in your family that rely on you to come back home, feed them. There's people that rely on you to say, yo, you go be the way maker. Like the people that's on this call, 72 people on, I propped up alive. And listen, for you guys that are not in this community, I'm telling you down. I get all these other jokers, the $10,000 dudes and the $15,000 dudes coming with suits saying they this and saying they that. Listen, they don't do these Zooms that I do. And it is pressure. We talk about real pressure. This is pressure to come on here. Pressure to come on here and put out a position. And it could either work or it could not work. That's just the pressure. But that's real pressure. That's real showing up. When things don't work, you got to show up and still deliver and navigate the risky waters and say, all right, guys, this is how we can adjust. Let's go. Let's get locked in. So I understand that everyone's like, hey, I've already paid, I've been around maybe this space. Maybe you've been around this space from 2020. You done been in this person class, been in that person class, been over here. You done paid for this 6 week, all that. This ain't no 6 week nothing. This lifetime, and we running this game nonstop. This ain't, because we're back against the wall. We got no time for 6 weeks. 6 weeks ain't gonna fix the average black person situation right now. We just gonna call it what it is. 6 weeks ain't enough. It take in-person events. It take the ability to meet and actually have direct access to speak. That's what it takes. 6 weeks is not enough. But you know what could be enough? You being in this game and you studying and you having access, Zooms like this where we're breaking some stuff down right now, putting some real stuff on the wall. Notice today I ain't go to no charts. Because listen, if none of this ain't right, you can't do nothing on them technicals. So we got to have these dangerous, I won't say dangerous in a bad way, but these are dangerous conversations to have in a good way. The reason why I say it's dangerous isn't always bad. It's dangerous because if people really take this information, it could light a fire under them. And we could be dangerous from the standpoint of not bad, because everybody always looks at danger as a bad thing, but danger is actually a good thing. Because what happens if we start changing not just the narrative, we change our situations to now we become more dangerous investors. Now we're teaching young men and young women on how to be better because we have to show them. I have to be able to show the young men that are selling water and Gatorade on the corners in Atlanta. With all these black people out here, there's no reason that that should ever be damn happening. And that's how I become more dangerous, right? So now I take them, I bring them to the Pittsburgh Yards, I put them in a room, I help them fund their brokerage accounts. I teach them about, hey, if you get this job and you save your money and you live below your means, and you go ahead and you crack AVGO, or you can crack a Tesla, or you can crack an Oracle, that could be some life-changing money to help jumpstart yourself. Now, in this game, you can make 15 to 20 bands and ain't no feds coming to knock at your door. Now you're not doing no chasing Wells Fargo scams for $2,000 to $3,000. I'm talking that talk today. We got people in our community that's promoting the young men to go and get $2,000 to $3,000 checks, put them in a damn bank, and now they could be doing jail time. How I know this? Majority of my family, a lot of my family, 6 family members work, including my mother, work at a law office, a DA's office. My mother sees all the cases. And these are some of the type of cases that come across where we got young black men that's committing financial crimes for $2,000 to $3,000 and then having to sit down for 2 to 3 years. When they could have got with me for free, and we could have put that 2 to 3, well, not that, let's rephrase that, not that 2 to 3,000, but I could have taught them about how to go get a job and how to go do this thing the right way. You took $2,000 to $3,000. Not that $2,000 to $3,000 that you got from JP Morgan Chase. I want to rephrase that. Not that damn money, not that Wells Fargo money, right? But you took that money and you put that in the market. You put that in the market. You put that in the market and you see what it performed. And that's the thing, because we playing a wrong game. We doing petty crimes. Young men, young black men in our community are being enticed with petty crimes by older black men. Coming down to them, hey, little homie, you want to make some money real quick? Hey, little homie, hey, you got your ID, you got your social? Hey, little homie, go open up an account over here, boom, put we gonna boom, I'm gonna slide this fake check, little homie. Once you go over there, deposit that fake check. It's gonna clear quick. And it clear for a second. Hey, little homie, around 6 p.m., we're gonna go get that money off that card. Hey, little homie, all right, cool. Got the money off the card, they broke away. And $3,000, they split $1,500. Next thing you know, my family is coming. Hey, little homie, you about to come and sit your ass down for 2 to 3 years, little homie. And you go see the judge, and now you crying, and your mom's sitting here, and you about to go sit down for 2 to 3 years over something petty and small. So that's the thing I'm saying. We're gonna change that narrative. We're gonna shut that all the way down. All the way down. That's the mindset that we can change. And 1,500 not even gonna cover the lawyer. Exactly. So it is super, super duper important that we understand that in this space, this is the necessity. And now everyone that's here understands that this is the necessity. It's not the question of if, it's the matter of it must be done. It's not if or should, it has to be done. Because of where we are at in this country, our back's against the wall. Now, a lot of people have asked me, I don't get into none of this online stuff, but as you guys see, everyone sees it. I have no parts in it. I want to work. There's no time for beef. There's no time for posting somebody. There's no time to argue. The people want to work. People don't cut on IG to see nutcases. That's what I call it. Dudes arguing, grown men arguing online about a bunch of nothing. Pick up the phone, call one another, deal with it in private. If you don't like each other, don't work with each other. Simple as that. Other than that, the YouTube videos, the 2-hour YouTube videos of this person did this person did that. Your ass need to be on a Zoom hosting a 2-hour class for your community. That's what you need to be doing. But it's a lot of distracting. That's divisive. I'm going to spend this and I'm gonna calculate how this person did this. That's divisive. Our people need to be fed. We all have talents. You get what I'm saying? So we got to focus on delivering that talent. All that other stuff, I don't worry about. And yeah, some of those people make some, not all, but a couple of people in this industry I'm hated on. And I don't talk about it, too much. But in this industry, I've been hated on because I'm younger and maybe some people feel that I've accomplished certain things. But listen, like I came from humble beginnings, just like a lot of us. Like I don't speak about my story. A lot of people talk about their story, and that's fine. I don't speak about mine too much. I'm adopted, grew up, you know what I'm saying, in New York. At the end of the day, I made my way. There was times in sixth grade was the game changer for me. My adopted father pretty much left me for 2 to 3 days at a time. I had to figure out how I was going to eat. And when I was figuring out how I was going to eat, that's what determined me. I learned how to iron my clothes, wash my clothes. I went to a private school. Boom. I went to a private school. And when I went to that private school, my sister Ellen, I went to a Catholic school. She could have kicked me out of school. But she said, you got attendance and you showing up. And she said, you know what? I'm going to let you stay in school. She didn't even charge me, for sixth grade year. She did not even charge me. You know what I'm saying? She did not even charge my dad, my adopted father, in sixth grade. So I don't have a good relationship with him. Obviously he was leaving me for 2 to 3 days at a time. Me and him are not on one good accord. But the reality is that I'm not mad at him like that. The reason why I'm not mad at him is because that shit made me. And I'm sorry for cursing, but this is just the reality. When you got to focus on you hungry, you focus on eating, you get what I'm saying? You focus on getting to school. I only missed one day of school. I was living in Buffalo, New York at the time. I had to ride my bike to school. As you guys know, in Buffalo, New York, right where that Tesla factory is right behind my old house, right? That Tesla factory, there's a hill, and there goes my old house. Where that Tesla factory is now, that Gigafactory, there was actually a big fire back in 2010. And that big fire burnt there was an old plant back there that Tesla actually ended up developing their factory at a later time. So I used to ride my bike there, and that's how I knew. Like I used to ride my bike all around town. You know what I'm saying? So I ride my bike all around town, but I made my way. When I came down here in seventh grade to Atlanta, I've been here in Atlanta since seventh grade. I made my way, got my first job when I was in 10th grade. Listen, for me, it's all about these experience. No excuses will be made. We just gonna go and take it. That has to be the mindset. Listen, everything that you go through is gonna make you better and stronger. It's no secret that the more you get up, the more times you get up, right? You come back stronger. And the last thing I'll say, and we'll move on, I'll take it to a little bit of Dragon Ball Z. You guys know I'm a DBZ fan. I've been that since a little kid, right? But I remember vividly, anytime that Vegeta and Goku went into battle, when they would get banged up, when they got up, they would come back stronger. So that was how it was to be a Saiyan. So what that told me as a kid was anytime that you get knocked down, anytime you go into battle and you get beat up, when you get up, you come back stronger. And it's proof. Proof is in the pudding. So now I spend my time in the gym, getting myself physically stronger. I spend my time doing self-care, getting myself mentally stronger. And I spend my time here getting financially stronger. All these things go well together. So when you do all of this stuff together, this is what it comes down to. You lift yourself up. Listen, life is going to hit you. It's not the question of if, it's just a matter of when it's going to hit you. And when you stay prepared, when you already ready, shout out to my coach, Enrique, right? Coach Enrique Davis over there. You guys see me working with Georgia State. My old football coach, he actually is the running back coach, Coach Enrique Davis at Georgia State. That's how I did that seminar with, one of the reasons how I did it, because I know a few people, but he's one of the reasons how I did that seminar, a few seminars that I've done with Georgia State, and I will be doing with other colleges as well, as you'll see throughout the rest of this year and the rest of next year. So the piece of what I want to say is Coach Enrique used to tell me, this was back, I used to wake up in 10th grade, in 11th grade, I used to wake up with Coach Enrique and we do 5 a.m. in the morning workouts. This is what it took. He said, yo, you want to make it to that next level? This is what it took. He said, you got to stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. Shout out to Mr. Dana. So even though I ain't have a dad in my life, I had men in my life that I would go, Mr. Dana. You guys have seen him maybe around. You guys see me work out with him on Sunday mornings. I post him on my page. He comes into classes when he can. I've done a live with him, but Mr. Dana used to always tell me when I sit down in his chair, I would come from after school because I get a haircut every week. That's therapeutic to me for me to get a haircut every week. Mr. Dana would come in and say, "Yo, L," he said, "control what you can control, my brother." Mr. Dana, a well-accomplished brother, done a lot of good things in his life, someone that I looked up to and said, "Yo, give me some advice." He would say, "Man, control what you can control. If you can't control it, don't fight it." You know what I'm saying? Leave it up to the person upstairs that you believe in, right? Everybody has their different beliefs, right? But he said, "Yo, if you can't control it, don't fight it. Control what you can control." He said, if I was back to your age again, he said he spent so much time focused on things that he could not control. So that's what you call mentorship right there. So that was, we didn't have Coach Enrique and Mr. Dana were not chart mentors or stock mentors, but they were mentors in a facet of they're going to teach you about life. Right. So that was really the importance of me making mention to that is we've all had mentors and it's not just always about stock charts. Right. So one thing that I want to mix up is like, I don't want to always come and just talk about stocks and charts. We can do that. But if this ain't right, the things we're discussing today, if this is not right, none of that other stuff matters. So a lot of people have different fears, right, of getting over, right? Some people may have a fear saying, yo, L, this information is a lot. How can I learn it? And sometimes people's own fears is because they're rushing. Yo, L, I'm trying to learn this. Man, I got to do this so fast. And it's the pressures that you have on your other side of life to try to fix things. There may be some things that you're dealing with, and you can't come to the market and say, I'm pressuring myself. And it's easier said than done, but don't let it be natural. Don't let there's some backdoor pressures, right? It could be some things in the background. You ain't got to put it in the chat, but just think about it. Maybe it's someone that's, pressuring you. Yo, we got to do this. We got to make some moves. It could be a bad deal that you got into. It could be a multitude of things. When I say bad deal, it could be bad project. Maybe you made some bad investments in the past. There's some people that saying, yo, what? I paid this joker, blah, 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 but I ain't learned this. But also at the same time, was it really this person's fault or did you show up for class? Because a lot of people point the finger at somebody else, even when they didn't do what they were supposed to do. There's no easy way to get to where you want to get to right now. So let me say that again. There is no easy way. There is no easy way. That's what everybody's selling to you online. Put your feet up, guys, and get this passive income. Just do this, and it's so easy. None of that is easy. They're all lying to you. This is real work, and it takes time, effort, and it's hard. You want to be the best. There is no autopilot to being the best. You want to be the best in the game at what you want, at what you do. There's no autopilot to being the best. That is cap. Because the reason why I said it's cap, all of these wealthy people in the world, none of them are on autopilot. And I'm going to use something with DT here. DT got a lot of bad stuff going on with himself. But listen, DT, there was no autopilot for his ass to get back in the White House. His ass went out there and worked. Elon Musk, there was no autopilot for him to get to where he's at. No autopilot. No autopilot to none of these billionaires and none of these influential people that we look at and we see that are in politics. There is no autopilot. They ass worked. Now, did they cut corners? Some of them, yes, but not all. So there is no autopilot when we have the CEOs, NVIDIA CEO, there's no autopilot. Mark Zuckerberg, there's no autopilot. There is absolutely no autopilot to get into where you at. That is the biggest misconception. Social media is telling you there's autopilot. Automate. This would be so easy. This would be so easy. No, because it's time to lace them up. And just like this brother that's on my wrist right here, Kyrie Irving, he's ready to go. There's no autopilot to getting handles like that. Kyrie Irving ain't show up in the gym and just say, I got handles. No, that's craft. That's perfection. Steph Curry didn't become the greatest shooter off of, autopilot. I'm good now, but I'm going to stop practicing. Practice? That's the main reason Allen Iverson, he wasn't practicing enough. Maybe if he would have, maybe they could have won a championship. This is the reason of what I'm saying. You practice how you're going to play. And we could tell when people watch film or people didn't. You could tell when you're watching the game on Sundays. You could be like, damn, where he throwing that ball to? Sorry, Commander fans. You seen Marcus Mariota last week, and you're like, yo, Jaden Daniels can't come back soon enough. Get him in here. You could tell when people do not practice because it shows in the game tape. It's like, yo, you don't remember that play? Nah, the coach called a play in the huddle, wide 47, AB 2-2, right? So wide 47, AB 2-2, right? And so what you're going to hear is that's a play call. And you like wide 47, AB 2-2. And the quarterback is like, okay, I'm trying to hear. Then he gets to the line, or he gets to the huddle, and he says, wide 47, AB 1-1. So his communication was off. He forgot the 2-2. So now he's hearing this, and now you're not paying attention. You're distracted. It's too much noise. Pay attention to when a quarterback comes to the line and an arena is going crazy. He can't lock in because there's too much noise. So what I'm telling people is right now, there's too much noise around you. When you're trying to lock in, you're trying to put that headset on and listen, but then there's so much noise in the background. Hey, you on that Zoom again? Why you on that Zoom? What you doing? Or yo, the employer saying, yo, hey, what you doing over there? We got this. There's a lot of noise and distractions, and sometimes it can be loud to where you're not hearing things. So then you get to the line, and then you thought we was going on 1, but we really was going on 2-2. And that means we was going off of the second count, right? So we're going off you said ready, set, hut, and you was waiting on the ball, and the ball didn't come, and you moved early because you wasn't listening. We're going on 2, not 1-1. We're going on 2. And so that is the piece of the difference. You got to pay attention. Got to pay attention. And so for me, it's 7:46. I came on here to fire people up. Some people ask, this is a great question asked by Andy. How many years and hours of practice did it take for you to really master? I would say that for me, I don't take the approach that I know some people say, oh, L's the master. And I think I'm very proficient. I guess I consider myself to be a master at this, right? But I don't run with that. I don't lead with that. You never hear me say I'm the master nothing, right? You don't hear me say that. What I do say is that every week I'm going to show up and prepare. The weekend, I'm going to show up and prepare for the week. You see my same preparation. So when I get in the game, I'm not flustered. I'm not saying, damn, like I show up every single time to build this game plan. So to answer how many hours, I would say, the simple answer would be thousands of hours. Now, in the beginning part, I can tell you when I first started, I'm going to give you realistic expectations. When I first started, I was in high school, so I had a bit more time. All I had to do was go to school and go to work and get ready for college, right? So that was easy, right? That was easy. So I had it easier than maybe what most people have because you're older and you have kids, you have a husband, a wife, you have responsibilities. So as a kid, it was way easier for me to start because I had more time allotted, but I was also useful of my time. Instead of me joking around with the guys from school and Travis, I'm not sure if Travis is here this morning. He can attest to this because Big Travis just came in here. That's my guy, Big Trav, right? Everybody put in Big Trav in here, put Big Trav in the chat. And Travis knows this. And Travis, I would always try to, in school, I was always try to tell Travis, stay away from those people, bro. Big Trav, I used to say, Trav, man, get away from those guys, man. Because those guys, some people want to hang around certain people in high school and listen. I was never impressed with most of these dudes out here. Because I looked at most of these dudes, I'm like, yo, you living in mommy and daddy house and you got 2 parents. You ain't living with a single mom like I am. You got 2 parents and your 2 parents is making more than that 60 bands I put on here. Your parents is making 100 racks. We living good. For the most part, you living good. You got your car at 16, 17 years old. You're dripped out. You got the new Jordans, $200 Jordans every month when the shoes drop. You ain't hurt for nothing. But we had dudes that wanted to be rappers. Yo, I want to be a rapper. Be a rapper. I want to be selling drugs. What the hell are you selling drugs? You don't take your damn ass to school or come see me with this market. But you want to sell. What you selling? You ain't selling no drugs. You selling weed. Ain't no real drug. And so what I had to tell dudes is get locked in and get focused. Why are we going to school in Henry County, Georgia? You ain't in Fulton County. You pretended to be a gangbanger. You ain't in no damn DeKalb County. You are in Henry County, where there's a ton of real estate that's growing, where your parents just bought a brand new $500,000 crib, and your ass is going to school pretending to be a drug dealer, pretending to be falsifying to be a blood or a crip. You couldn't make it in California. Shout out to all my California people. We had dudes pretending to be bloods and crip. Yo, I got jumped in. You ain't get jumped in nothing. You better sit your behind down and get locked in on this thing. And so I was telling people like, yo, like I would say this is what I go back to. So instead of me being distracted with that foolishness, I sat myself down and I was studying all night at Investopedia. Investopedia was a very good resource. I remember when Robinhood first, really had this first launch. I set myself up a Robinhood as well as an Acorns account. And so Acorns kind of simplified investing from the standpoint of teaching me about ETFs, understanding what an exchange traded fund is, learning about the VOO and VTI. So I took some of their courses that they had on there, just like their little small things that they was teaching on that. So I understood there and took some information from Investopedia. But then I said, I was always a risk taker. I said, listen, I'm going to put this money in a brokerage account. And I said, yo, we going to load this thing up. When it came to the options, and once I found out that you can make money directionally, I said, we going to figure this thing out. And I said, yo, I remember the first time I took an options trade, I was like, I just wanted to see if I buy a put and the stock come down, will I make money? And that was my curiosity. And at that point, I had then moved on to college. It was my freshman year of college when I first started trading options. So most people was going to get their refund checks, and I was salivating. I was like this. I was like, shoot, I've already got like 15, 20 bands from working. I was like, I got that refund check coming in. Most people was talking about spending that refund check. It was some guys that I was in college with. It was like, yeah, man, I'm going to take this girl on a date, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, man, you tripping. I'm like, listen, I'm putting this refund check in my brokerage account and I'm a trade. You can go trick off or think whatever you going to do. And listen, she don't even like you like that. That's what I used to tell them. She don't even like you like that. And I still got tons of homegirls that I went to college with my freshman year. All to do is they ain't had no game for real. I was trying to tell them, I said, listen, you trying to get all of these different girls. I said, bro, just choose one and lock in with them. I said, yeah, there's some beautiful sisters up in here, but lock in with them. And I said, I still got photos from my birthday, right? 8 years ago, I remember 2017. And they was like, yo, how you got all these girls in here? So my birthday, it was about 10, 15 girls. That was all I said, because I'm not trying to get with them. They just my friends, because these the future realtors. Two of them, Ariel and Kiambria, are now realtors. These are your future nurses, Mariah and Tyler, two right there. These are your future business women, right? And so I said, you got to look at it like that. These are relationships. I said, yo, when I call now, whatever I need, they're going to get it done. Kiambre, I need a house or whatever. Boom, she could get it done. Ariel can get it done. You want to, I can help you with an interest rate. Kiambre trying to sell me houses. If you was trying to, they ain't trying to sell you nothing, bro. They ain't going to be helping you out. They ain't going to be assist. You get what I'm saying? Tyler, my close friend, obstetrician gynecologist. I played a long game. Like I always tell people, I'm a long-term investor, but I'm also a long-term relationship builder. These are just the facts. And so instead of when somebody asks about time, I focus my time on sitting in my dorm room watching Teen Wolf. That's what I was watching. And Power. Shout out to all the Power people. You guys know I was watching Power. And boom, at nighttime, I was on this computer just like this, studying charts and watching my shows after I finished my homework. You get what I'm saying? So I was up to 12 a.m., 1 a.m. in the morning, not messing off, not being in the kickbacks down the hall, but I was focused on what? Just getting my knowledge level up. So when I told you guys the story about when I quit my two jobs, because I worked two jobs my freshman year of college, I remember being approached by, I won't name the organization, but I was approached by a fraternity organization. And what happened was when I was approached by a fraternity organization, and it said, this is why, at least at my school, I didn't join a fraternity. Right? He explained to me, he said, man, all these girls would fall into your lap the way you already got their attention, but they can fall into your lap. I said, bro, I'm not worried about that. I said, I'm good in that regard. You know what I'm saying? I'm good. I don't need that. What I'm focused on is money though. And he's like, yo, I see you getting money, this and that. I'm like, he's seen from the time I came with the moped, now I got the motorcycle. He's like, yo, how you did that so quick? I said, because I'm getting money now. I said, I done took this refund check because this is now November. I done took this refund check and I done threw this. And this was, once again, I done took this refund check and I done threw it in Tesla. I done threw it in Shopify. I done been making trades. And I said, boom, here's how I did it. So I remember the first time when I got my motorcycle, boom. Now I came around the same high school guys and they're like, yo, how you get this nice ass motorcycle? I say, yeah, I'm doing cost efficient things because I know I'm not traveling far at the time, right? So my motorcycle insurance was super cheap and gas was super cheap. I'm just going up and down the street. I'm not going anywhere too far. I'm not going on a highway. I'm just going up and down the street. At the time, it wasn't feasible for me to really afford a car. And so I did the math. I said, cool, if I can this will keep my expenses at $400 a month, and I would have $2,200 to $2,300. So the rest of that money I could just invest on top of any lump sums that I come across, any little things, I would do, I would obviously I had this is no BWSO, by the way. There's no community, no BWSO community at all at this point. So I say, you know what? Now I'm gonna take this money, and that refund check was like 5, 6 bands. Plus, I already have worked up 15, 20,000 that was saved up. Boom. So I was like, Julius, anytime money came out that I was spending, I'm like, that was $3.35. When I went to the Auntie Annie's on my break time, that was $6.65. So boom, I know what I spent there. Like I was on it. Like that's how it came down to it. And that was what it took. Because I'm like, yo, I gotta invest as much as possible. I was like, yo, this is what it's going to take. And so for me, I looked at those things. That's what it took. When someone asked, okay, what was that in the beginning? So it was the time commitment, but also the seriousness about making sure that I was investing, making sure that I was putting my money away for later and saving my money, not getting that refund check and going and blowing it on nothing. I had dudes, there was dudes in my campus that was walking around with fake designer belts. They went to the flea market with their refund money to go buy a bunch of nothing. And it was the person, and I'm actually going to see him next week. One of the first people that I taught was one of my close guys. He's also from New York. We just happened to connect. We connected in my English 1101 class. His name was TJ. His name is Tyrone. And Tyrone was the one that I connected with. And TJ was the individual that was like, yo, TJ was, my mother was in the military. So TJ was in school, as you can imagine, off the GI Bill. So TJ was obviously going to get his refund check. He was of the same wavelength. We had that mindset. He said, I want to get with you on the stocks, man. So TJ was one of the first people that I sat down and I said, man, I'm going to show you this. And TJ went ahead, he trusted in me, he invested, and he doubled his account. So that's when I said, man, if I could teach TJ, no, not knocking TJ by saying that, I could teach other people. Like from the standpoint of I'm teaching my brother, my friend, and now I'm seeing how it can affect. And I vividly remember the time TJ was walking on campus and me and him was crossing each other and we was passing through and he was like, man, I just made 4 bands on Tesla today. And that's when I said, man, I'm helping TJ make, I just smacked Tesla, TJ smacked Tesla. And I'm like, man, I could really sit people down. I remember the first BWSO meeting. The first BWSO meeting was in my dorm room. I had 7 people. One person was on an iPad. Her name is Odyssey. She was my friend from middle school. Odyssey was on an iPad just sitting there watching. I invited a few of my close friends. I remember Donovan, Don, good brother. I remember I invited Gigi. I invited just a few of my close friends on campus. I said, a lot of y'all been asking what I'm doing. Boom. I remember my friend Mariah. Mariah, she's now what I made mention to earlier. Once again, I'm telling the dudes, Mariah's beautiful, but listen, just focus on understanding that Mariah is going to be doing big things in life. So stop thinking with your other head, think with this head, right? And so what I told him, I said, it comes down to How can I impact? So I sat Mariah down, I sat all of them, Gigi, I sat all of them down, and I just showcased to them. And then it started growing. It started growing to the point when I mentioned Dennis here, right? There was a friend on campus actually that invited Dennis. That's how I actually met Dennis. Dennis met me in my dorm room, and me and Dennis have been cool ever since. When I call him Dennis the Menace and I say Dennis has been here for a long time, this is the reason why. Because Dennis came in, he believed in what I was doing early on, and he came in and he bought into it. It got so big to the point that now I was having classes in my dorm room where it was filled. And there was a good brother named Cooper, my guy Coop, right? He told good brother Billy Evans. Billy Evans, very accomplished individual, brother, part of Alpha fraternity, been in the military for over 30 years. Billy graduated from Clayton State as well. Just a lot of just different things that he's been able to accomplish for himself. So Billy Evans, he came in and he said, "Yo, I met him at an event, and he said, "Yo, I want you to start teaching for the campus." And he was like, "I want you to come by my office." I said, "Teaching for the campus? What you mean?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, come by my office." And next thing I know, I'm teaching for the school, and I'm getting a $10,000 stipend like that, and my own little corner, little cubicle, and little office space in the financial aid office. So this is when I said, "All right." So I made, now $10,000. I got like a $10,000 stipend every semester that's coming in. So now, guess what? That's more bread to put in this damn market. I'm like, shoot. And so it came down to, I'm like, I'll go back to the point, and I said, "Yo, I'm not sitting here, but I'm not working these jobs and these jobs talking to me crazy. I'm gonna talk to you about my time at Target. I worked at Target for 3 weeks. I had smacked Tesla for about 700. I'm working in Target. I was in the men's section. She had me working in the men's section, and I was doing my work. But I see an alert go off. I'm like, damn, this Target going stupid. I mean, to me, this Tesla going stupid. So, hey, I'm like, yo, let me close out this trade. I'm literally closing the trade out, put my phone up. She was like, "What was you doing on your phone?" I said, "Sure, I was just closing out a trade real quick. I'm good now." I said, "Boom." I said, "I'm working, you know what I'm saying? But I did just close out." She said, "You know our phone policy." I said, "I know. And listen, it was some money on the line. I had to close it out. That was it. You know what I mean?" And I understood, I respected her authority, but then she started talking to me crazy. She said, "You don't need to be doing that here at no work, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Well, I checked my watch and I said, I was gonna be making about $150 today, but deuces." So I told her pretty much that I'm quitting today. Any job I ever quit, I never put it in a 2 week notice. 2 week for what? I ain't coming back. Y'all just hearing the raw of me. I'm sorry today. 2 week notice. I ain't coming back. You know what I mean? This is it. So told her deuces. I'm out of here because you ain't gonna be talking to me crazy. You get what I'm saying? Just what it is. And no disrespect, but I was making $150 today. You know what I'm saying? And I was cool with being there. I just had to close. I wasn't on the phone texting. I ain't had no bitty text. I had to close out the trade. And so when I tell you guys, I understand the stories of going to the bathroom and all of that and maneuvering. I've been there. I done it. So I got it. So now when it came down to it, it was like I had another job. I worked at Forever 21. So this was when I worked at Forever 21. I worked there for a good period of time, but their system was cheap. That's why they out of business right now. No, sorry, Forever 21. You just caught a stray. Your system was cheap, your clothes was cheap, everything about Forever 21 was cheap. That's why they out of business. So their system for me to log in was cheap. I was there early. Once again, I'm there at, if I had to clock in at 8, I was there at 7:50. Boom. I put my finger on the thing, it's not working. More sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't. So the manager would say, "Hey, I'm gonna clock you in." So I said, "Okay, cool." So I would just go on the floor and work. Boom. I was one of their best workers. Boom, moving the boxes, getting shipment, tagging, all of that good stuff. So then one day it was on Black Friday. And I've been there probably for about a year and some change. My first job I'll get to in a second. I'll tell you this after this. And then my first job was at 15. But I'm gonna tell you this was my second job, which was Forever 21. And so I got the job at pretty much 17. I got the job like on some Mike Ross stuff, right? So you guys know I always like to give you analogies. So, I came in, I knew that I wasn't old enough to be working there, but I just put my name in a basket. And I said, well, I turned 18 and blah, 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 blah. So it was Miss Gwen. Miss Gwen hired me. She said, young man, I like your assertiveness. You already knew, but she liked me. So it was kind of like, I know the policies. I didn't already looked it up. So I showed her that I had a little Mike Ross in me. So I was ready for my interview. I said, the rest of these people, they could be ready, but I'm ready. I'm ready to go today. And so she liked that. She said, cool. Well, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'm going to put your information in the system. And boom, as soon as you turn 18. So she hired me at 17. Obviously, I had to wait till 18 to work, but she hired me at 17. And then I came back around. She said, okay, young man, I can't wait for you to come in. And so, boom, I came in, I started, I was there for about a year. And so, boom, as it came time for me to almost turn 19, I pretty much now came down to it and said, well, boom, it was a little bit right after I turned 19. Actually, yeah, a little bit after I turned 19, because it was November after I turned 19. It was Black Friday. That was pretty much my last day of work. And I said, and it wasn't Miss Gwen, it was this other brother. I'm gonna leave him nameless. He came up to me and he was like, yeah. He was like, man, you've been late. You've been late, 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 late. He was like, I said, I've been here every time early. I said, just the system is broken. So maybe they're clocking me in late when it's not. He's like, yeah, because I got only about 4 times. I said, yeah, those are the 4 times. He's like, yeah, man, but based upon the system, we gonna have to give you a write-up. And I said to myself, I said, honestly, I ain't been written up since ISS in 6th grade. What's it mean, in 7th grade? ISS, I had in-school suspension. Wasn't a fault of mine, but I had in-school suspension in 7th grade. And I said, well, that sounds like a write-up to me. And I'm not the dude you should be writing up. And he was like, what you mean? I said, because I'm here on time. We could just go check the cameras. He's like, man, that'll take a long time. I said, well, you trying to give me, you trying, he's like, I need you to sign it here. I said, I don't sign nothing I don't agree with. And I said, I'm not signing it. He said, well, man, I said, but you know what? I said, this is what I did today. So, well, excuse me, this is what I did yesterday, because obviously, this is what I did do today, because Black Friday, Thanksgiving. I said, this is what I did today, because I came in for my shift after the market closed. Obviously, you guys know on Black Friday. So I said, boom. I said, yeah, well, this is what I did today, man. I said, so what you talking about really don't matter to me. I'm here because I still don't mind stacking up. But listen, don't get it confused. And so he said, man, you quitting right now? I said, yeah, I'm going to quit. But actually, let me make sure I get that stuff on discount first. And I'm going to ring it up. And then I'm going to take it. And then we could sign a resignation letter. Because there was something I did like in Black Friday section. So I got the stuff. I spent about $200 on the things that I wanted, and I dipped out of there. Signed the paper. The paper I was signing was my resignation. See you later. Then I ended up going into the Forever 21 6 months later, and that person ended up moving to the one at Lenox Atlanta, Forever 21. He seen me come in. He's like, yo, how you doing? I say, you see, I told you. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing well. I told you. This is what I told you what it was going to be. And it was all love. And from there, he respected me always, but he's like, that's one thing I like about you, young king. You gonna do what you want to do. And I said, yeah, this is just what it was gonna be. I told you, you know what I'm saying? So it's no love lost. I respect you, but you gotta respect me. I don't sign nothing I don't agree with. Why would I sign it? So that was my second instance. Now, my first instance, when I left my first job, it was no bad. It was no anything. I didn't hit him. I did tell them that I was leaving, and Mr. Tony, he was someone that believed in me. Mr. Tony, he has a small Italian restaurant, and he's from Brent. He has Tony's at Brentwood, right? And so he believed in me when I was like 15 years old. I remember I was like, yo, I'm looking for a job. He gave me an opportunity and a shot. Also, as well, Luann. So Luann, I taught some youth last year. Luann, she teaches at a charter school now. She was my first boss, right? Where she gave me an opportunity and she said, hey, you're 15. We really don't even hire 15-year-olds. We really like people to be 18. But because I see you're motivated and you're on time and you're very sharp, I said, yeah, I'm really just trying to stack up money so I can start investing. And I said, I got to have money to invest. So she liked that. And that's why she gave me my opportunity to work there. Mr. Tony, I still sometimes I've been back maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago. Actually 2 to 3 months ago. But Mr. Tony really, he really drilled into me. Just the love I seen his work ethic. Like, and as a business owner, I feel like that was something that helped me early on to see like what did it take, right? Like there would be times when Mr. Tony was doing things with his family, but something would happen, and boom, he has to come back. He may have to make the pizzas, right? Like he may have to make the sauce. He may have to do this. Like all of those intangible things as a 15-year-old that you see, I seen Mr. Tony's responsibility, right? And he was responsible. He showed up even when maybe he might have been doing something. You get what I'm saying? I really stressed it. So for me, Mr. Tony was someone that inspired me. And that was another key part of me becoming an entrepreneur as well, too, was seeing just how he operated as well. So when you see me show up and I'm doing pop-up classes, that come from Mr. T. So I always give him his flowers. That's what I call him, Mr. T. Really great guy. Um, Great Italian brother, great food, down there in Stockbridge. Tony's at Brentwood. So that's what it came down to for Mr. T. He gave me that opportunity. So I always give him his flowers as well as Luann. Without her, I wouldn't have had that first job to even be saving my first $15,000-$20,000. That was because of them two. So because I had that was the money that I put in this market in the first place. Right. So I do want to give them both their flowers. Obviously, they're not here, but I've given them their flowers already. And that's how you should talk about people, even when they're not around. You should speak highly to people and give them their flowers, give them it to their face as well as giving them here now. So that's where I say, like, when people ask me, okay, well, what things did you do? I just outlined and listed. Now, when it came out to when it pretty much came down to me studying this information, that's where using my platforms, taking time. I was a risk taker. Obviously, I had the ability to take a risk. I gave a shout out to RJ. I think it's a lot easier when you're younger because you can fail a lot easier. When you're older, failure looks a little bit different. You can't just be maybe as loosely with the risk as a young man or a young woman could be. So you have to be more mindful. But I was a head first type person. I was going to try it. Listen, when I talk about the weekly option stuff, I've done it. You know what I'm saying? Like I've done the weekly option stuff. That's what I've done. I've realistically done the weekly option stuff, and it wasn't heavy. It was just a little bit. But I just seen where even on a shorter dated options, because I never was a heavy weekly options trader, I did it like a couple times, right? Not really a ton. But I've done it to see, okay, how does this work or how can it not work, right? What I realized is I was missing moves early on. I was missing the bulk of the moves. The bulk of the moves, these big time moves that happen. I'm like, yo, I'm so busy trying to catch this day trade. And I actually was just talking to RJ about this yesterday. RJ told me, he was like, yo, I don't even see myself day trading after, pretty soon here. And what I realized is early on, I'm like, yo, I'll sit, and me and RJ have this story. It's still, I remember when Shopify went from, $300 a share to $600 a share. And I remember that happening during COVID. That was like the last time where I said, yo, I'm strictly solely focusing on really mainly swing trading. That was 5 years ago, right? 5 years, 6 years ago. I said this to myself in 2019 because I did a lot of it, swing trading in 2019. And I said, yo, I look back to the trades in 2018 and I go back to those contracts and I say, yo, if I just would have held those contracts, like those contracts would have been cooking, like cooking, like boiling, right? And sorry, right? Cooking, we'll just say cooking, right? And what I realized is I said, man, this contract on Shopify that I bought for $3,000 that turned into 8 ended up turning into 60. I said I took $5,000, which was a good trade. 3 to 5 is a great trade, actually. But I said, bro, that contract is worth $60,000. I said, no more. No more. Because you have the right. This is why I always say a lot of times you have the right moves. You're just one, not patient enough. And two, you watch it every day. That was the biggest thing that I had to realize. Like, I don't sit at a computer all day. Oh, it's 9:30, right? So I'm sitting here at the computer all day and I'm hunched over and I'm watching it 9:30 to 4 o'clock. That's a recipe for a disaster because you're gonna force trades, you're gonna miss trades as well, too, because you're focused too much on the every tick movement. That's why I always say buy time, trust your setup. Because when you buy time and trust your setup and you let things play out, yes, you're going to have to make some adjustments. It's just what it is. But when you buy time and get your setups, that's how you bank. And so this skill set, no matter where you're at in your life, this can change your life. We see stocks every single quarter change people's lives. Oracle, life-changing money. AVGO, life-changing money. MU, life-changing money. Baba, life-changing money. All called truly by yours truly here. Did I not? Those four plays right there, this past quarter, quarter three, was so, right? Was so instrumental. Those four plays right there, big time bread in people's pockets. UNH, right? So the list goes on. What I'll say to you guys here is this is what execution looks like. It's 75 people on this Zoom. It's another 62 people here on this live. So what that means to tell me is I got 63 people, almost. Some, I would say half. Shout out to Joe. We got to get people inside this club, man. What I'm going to say here now, tomorrow night is going down. I'm giving all I got. So this was just a prelude. I'm giving all I got tomorrow. Listen, if there's any questions about or debates and all of that stuff, we're going to end them tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, I'm giving you all I got on my birthday week because I want you guys, like a lot of times people look at their birthdays to get gifts. No, the gift, I had a gift of life, respectfully. The gift of life. Being here is a gift enough. This materialistic stuff, I can't take none of this with me. None of this with me. It all belongs to the person upstairs. He could take it all today if he wanted to. And so the piece that I want to say is I got to give in order to get to where I want to go to. That's where I got to give, you give nonstop. But what I'm going to say to you guys here, if you're serious about executing, look no further than this face right here. Look no further than coming on these Zooms and getting this information because we got a bankroll and a collection of not just information, but practical things you can execute upon. I throw alley-oops off the backboard. All you got to do is catch it and slam dunk it. I'm going to throw nothing but alleys. All you got to do is catch it and dunk it. That's what we're about. So, like I said, I'm not here. We got enough entertainment. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to put bread in your pockets and teach you how to go fish in this market. I'm not here to keep you tied to me. I'm not here to keep you tied to me to where you got to always use me to come in and get information. No, you come in here to learn how to do it yourself. And the community is always a resource for yourself. That's what you should leverage your resources. That's what it comes down to. So in this game, there's a lot of entertainment and dudes flexing and all of that stuff. That's a distraction. That's what you call the noise, right? There's a noise. There's a lot of noise in this space. A lot of people that's trying to flex. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to change your life, though. I'm here to help you get yourself boom, teaching you this market, though. I'm here to give you and help you see, and so you can execute it for yourself. The next 500% player, the next 1,000% player, because we have done it a few times now. We got some positions that we got on record. Yo, this was not just a great call, but a great series and a great season. So no, we don't bat 100%. But listen, guys, the execution prowess, the things and the principles that you learn, you take these for the rest of your life. It's a lot of people that's going to be tapped in here. They're going to look back and say, damn, in 2030, look at all the stuff L taught me. People are already saying it since 2020 and 2021 for a lot of the people that came in. They like, yo, we look at L, we like, yo, L done taught me all this. And when I went on that little cross-country tour and went to those different cities, all I got was love. Yo, L, you done taught me this. You done taught me that. You ain't even know it. You done changed my life. You done changed my life in real time. No game, no fluff. So listen, guys, Let's not, this is what it is. Come into this community tomorrow. Tomorrow evening will be members only. So you got to be inside the club to get this access. I'm telling you now, because I couldn't just drop game on here on that tomorrow night's going for free. Because the stuff that I'm going to give is going to blow. This is not a prediction, it is a spoiler. I'm gonna tell you that right now. We don't do predictions, we give you spoilers. We tell you about things before they happen and we give you the context as to why. So it's going to be one of those zones that you are going to save and you're going to keep in your back pocket. Like I said, I'm emptying the war chest. I don't think I've actually ever said that before. So if I'm telling you that, you should be saying, L, how can I get in? How can I get in and get myself locked in? Because the people that's here, and if you've been playing around and you ain't gotten into this club, it's partly on you. You see, Dion said something. I ain't learned nothing from spectating. Spectating on the sideline forever. You still spectating. It's 2025, guys, but you spectating from the sideline. And I'm talking that talk this morning. You can't be spectating from the sideline and wondering why you're not seeing nothing because you ain't got in the game. You spectating, you sitting on the sidelines, you here and there, you kind of thinking this, kind of thinking that. Listen, I get it. These cameras can be fooling. One thing that these cameras can't, one thing that happens here, and I want to really express this and explain this. A lot of times people is fooling because they don't like, and I'm gonna just keep it all the way funky. Aristotle Investments, that's my brother. I like him a lot. I actually just talked to him yesterday, right? Me and Aristotle just had a little exchange. Aristotle, he gonna live trade with you. Shout out to Wealth Squad Chris Johnson. He doesn't trade as much, but about that Bitcoin, he been on it. And when he does trade, he's shown you in the past. That's a trader for real. Shout out as well to the Black Robin Hood. His page, he might talk a lot of mess, but he gets active. Let's not get it confused. He gets active. Wall Street Trapper, good brother Leon Howard. Nothing but the utmost respect for that brother. Anytime he seen me, his words, not mine. Young King, what's going on, Young King? I see you out here. This is what Trap told me out of his own mouth. He said, Young King, there's going to be some people that may not resonate with my story because of my past. They probably rock with you a little bit more. There's going to be some people that maybe come from my past that rock with me more because they're relatable. He said, all that, nothing else. We all got a duty to serve our communities. That's what it is, bottom line. Trap told me that 4 years ago. 4 years ago. So it's always been all love. And Trap trade for real. Just what it is. Ain't no gimmicks, ain't no fluff. He in the market. And so when it comes to people like that, I'm going to give them their flowers, right? Because those are people out there, and there's a plethora of other people as well too. Shout out to good brother Chris Sane. He in that market for real. No games, no fluff. Good brother Mark Monroe. He in that market for real. You get what I'm saying? That's how you create, unite. We're able to unite. We're able to unite. So I gave some shout outs to some people. RJ Trades. I gave a shout out to him earlier. I'm gonna do it again. RJ in this damn market. Them bull flags, RJ is a bull flag king, right? And I have no problem giving another man his flowers for what they do. Aristotle Investments, the leap guy, right? And he does a ton of other things. His commercial real estate. He bought the project that's obviously, you guys know, someone else used to own that I was connected with. And Jay, he's done some things and all of that. I'm not going to discuss him on this live. But at the end of the day, what I say is it comes down to he's in this market for real. Aristotle, he wouldn't have been able to get that building if he wasn't in that market. And so what I'll say is that Aristotle know what the hell he doing and what the hell he talking about. At the end of the day, I named quite a bit of people, right, who all of us, we have a duty to the community to serve. That's what our job is. Dr. Boyce, right? He serves, right? I've been on his platform. Shout out to Ashley M. Fox. I'm just giving special shout outs to people because those are communities in which I currently teach in. I teach in Dr. Boyce community and Ashley M. Fox community, Amplify. So we're going to give a queen, a sister, her flowers here as a trailblazing Black woman in this space dominating. And I love to see that. And she's encouraging other Black women to get involved in the stock market and encouraging just people in general, right? Shout out to Robert Boyd, the VP over there as well, too, my guy, right? And so just yesterday, they asked me to teach 2 times within the next month inside their community. Dr. Boyce, I teach 3 times a month inside his community. Notice I don't always talk about this stuff because I don't got to brag about it. But the piece is what I'm saying. It comes down to now, how can we move together as a unit? Because it don't matter to me. I could start and I could come, or I could come off the bench. You whatever. Hey, coach need me to come off the bench. Boom. Let me go ahead and boom. Let me come off the bench real quick, and boom. Let me drop 20 real quick. Oh, you need me to start this game? Cool. I'm a starter. Everybody knows that. Boom. I'll give you 20, give you 10, whatever you need. You need me to come off the bench? Boom. Need you to come off the bench. I'm not going to be Jonathan Kuminga. Sorry, Warrior fans, and cry like a little girl. Oh, we need you to come off the bench. We got Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga. Just pay me my money. I wish I could start. Like, that's the mentality that's not going to lead us to winning. Everybody wants to be the superstar, but I'm going to just keep it all the way funky here this morning. We're like 12th or 13th in the standings. That means we're at the bottom. So we got a lot of people who are all-stars that can sauce you up. But what good is it if you're Kyrie Irving in Cleveland and you're leading a team in points, assists, and things like that, and you're going to the All-Star game? But I'm gonna take a page out of Jim Moore. Playoffs, and you guys know what I'm talking about from my sports fan. Playoffs, really? You think we're going to playoffs? Playoffs? Really? Playoffs? You know what I'm saying? And so we can't even get to the playoffs unless we handle what's due in the regular season. How we handle in the regular season is it has to be a team effort. And so that's why I gave people their flowers here, because once again, these people are not here, but I give people their flowers, and there's other people. But if we as a community want to make the playoffs, like the beef ain't the beef, all that beef and stuff, it's irrelevant to me. There's going to be some people that you don't like. That's just the reality. There's other cultures, when they don't like each other, they still getting money with each other. So you ain't got to like that person. You ain't got to like, but let's get money. Let's change our community. All these other, these billionaires don't even all like each other. But guess what? They billionaires though. And if it comes down to a gift, you know what I'm saying? If it comes down to, you see me, a game plan that needs to be done to keep them billionaires, they're going to figure it out. When it's time, and I'll take a page. This is where, for my power fans, I told you guys, I got this. I'm going to tie all this together. When Simon told James, Ghost, when Ghost was going through some financial troubles and the club was getting ready to shut down, Simon sat and said, James, this is just part of business. We may not like each other, but at this level, the level that Simon was at, what he was explaining to Ghost is this is how we come through for each other. He says, so Simon was trying to offer him some money. Now, we know Simon, being who he is a scumbag. But he offered him some money to say, hey, this is how I can help you during this time. So push come to shove, when these billionaires, they may not like each other, but let's not act like they ain't collabing in some regards. A lot of them probably don't like each other and hate each other, actually. And that's fine. But you never see a lot of them beefing for real, for real. What you see is they'll probably have a little collab. It says, boom, Tesla just partnered with NVIDIA. You think that they like each other? Probably, may or may not, right? I'm just using this as an example. But they understand that their partnership is beneficial. It's a means to the end to be able to get to where you need to get to. That's what we as people need to be better at. We got to look at ourselves and say, we got a partner. Whether we like each other or not, you may not like the person. And that's okay, but we got people that we need to serve. We got people that we need to help out. We got tons of things in our space, in our industry to change. It's a lot of things that we need to change today, right now. And that's what it comes on to. That's what it comes down to. So I'm stressing to you guys, this is my notes. This is everything that I've given you guys here for this morning. So for those, just giving you guys just a little bit of game. I've been on here for about 2 hours, but I'm going to wrap this thing up now. I appreciate y'all for showing up and showing out here this morning. Tomorrow, the class is going to go down. It's going to be an amazing class. Also Monday at 9 to 2 p.m. session. So I'm gonna sign off here, and I'll post this Zoom up and had it recorded. But I will see everyone tomorrow, and I want you guys to do one thing for today: preparation for tomorrow. Come with your notepads. Be serious, because I'm gonna lock the room around 7:20. I'm being very I'm gonna lock the room about 20 minutes after. 20 minutes after, I'm gonna lock the room up after the room opens. And so anybody that's not on the inside that's watching this live, you need to join today. For my great people, you guys are in for a treat. So really good story time this morning, really good opportunity to have a great conversation. And I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow. So everyone have a great